Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and it is that time of the year to get started with the end of the year list of 2022. Brad and I will be doing our top 5 surprise games of the year, which is actually extremely interesting because of the fact that I think this is the first time that we've done this list. Like, I don't think we've done surprise games.
No, and usually I think you could have probably maybe done this, but I've played a lot more of the 2022 games this year than I have in the
Right.
past. So and like we had talked about it, we didn't want like none of our surprise games are in our top 10 of the year.
Yeah.
So since I was able to play so many more 2022 games this year, it made it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So essentially, like the idea that I had for this list was games that like I mean, at least for me, like you could have done something different, but like these are all games that I think are great. Just not good enough to make it into the top 10 of the year. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like for me, this might be games that were maybe on the short list. Like it's like, oh, hey, this actually almost made it into my top 10, but didn't. So here's another list that we can do so we can still actually talk about them.
Yeah, mine's similar to that too. I also took into account games that just by looking at them or hearing about them, I didn't really think I was going to like, and then ended up
Mm,
liking quite a bit as
yep.
well. So,
Yep.
yeah.
That's exactly, yeah, for a few of these that they were kind of like, yeah, actually like my number one game is exactly that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my number 5, which was a game that based off the name alone, I think everyone just expected it to be trash because there's another game that has a similar title that is very bad. And this one just took me by surprise because of just how clean it was. And yeah, it'll make a lot more sense whenever we get to it. So my number 5 is The Founders of Teotihuacan, which is like I said, there's another game that came out a few years ago called The Founders of Gloomhaven, which most people do not like, mainly just because everyone expected it to be something similar to Gloomhaven, or it had maybe it's like, oh, that sounds like it'd be a prequel of Gloomhaven, and they're not even close to being the same game. And for this one, like obviously there's Teotihuacan, which is a dice worker placement game going around kind of like a board and building up the city. And this one is a polyomino style game. Is there a picture for these?
Yes.
Cool, perfect. So everyone has their own player board, where you are kind of doing the main aspect of Teotihuacan with the pyramid building. This is kind of similar in that style. You just have that main board trying to just put on, it's a lot way more simplistic, but tiles on top of other tiles to actually build the pyramid while utilizing buildings going uh, around that. So that's what like the yellow, brown, and gray tiles are, and then you have projects, which are the green, blue, and red. And then you're trying to complete objectives that score you points at the end. This is just a really solid polyomino game, and how you get resources is also very cool because like whenever you place a certain style of building of the stone, wood, and I want to say gold, like you put the resources around that tile, then you have to actually, build on top of that to collect the resources, and then you're trying to complete those objectives. It's just very clean in what it does. So like this was a main surprise because I just clearly expected this to bomb and be like, oh, it's nothing like Teotihuacan, so therefore it sucks. And it's like, yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It's one that has stayed in my collection.
Yeah, and the solo is pretty decent on this too.
Oh, really? Okay, I haven't tried the solo on it.
Yeah, I like how the box cover makes it look like they're playing the game. It's like it shows them
Oh,
standing around
yeah.
and that, and then it's like you're building the village too. It's kind of
Oh, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even make that parallel, but yeah, that's true. So yeah, I mean, not a whole lot more to say on my end, so that's my number 5.
Okay, So my number 5 is a game that I debated whether to put on this list or not. It is coming to the US either like right now or maybe early 2023, but there are copies in the country from Essen. So that's why I'm here, because I played a copy that was the cover was in German, but it's
Okay.
so it's a 2022/2023. I went ahead and put on this since I played it this year. And that is Tribes of the Wind.
Oh, okay. All right.
This one is interesting. I wasn't too. Well, of course, it helps when it's written in English because I didn't even know what the hell it meant when it was in German. But
Yeah.
This game takes a place. It's a post-apocalyptic theme, and you're controlling a guide who is trying to build up their village, and so it's a competitive style game. And when you look at it, you've got, I mean, of course, they've got the different shapes of meeples. There's little windmill meeples, and there's all kinds of different stuff that you'll put out. But you are just trying to regrow. You're trying to plant forests, you're building new villages, you're building temples, you're trying to decontaminate areas
Okay.
to make it more livable. The thing that's interesting with this, though, is if you notice those cards are in those little card trays. Some of the stuff that you do when you play a card, the effect of your card will depend on the back of the cards of the other players, but they have showing it.
Okay.
So it kind of may be a bit more powerful, less powerful, depending on what's facing you from your opponents and stuff. So it's one of these. I've only played this game like twice.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to learn about this game. There's kind of a rhythm that you need to get in, knowing what to do and stuff. So it's one I definitely want to explore more. But it's just one of those games, it kind of grabs you a little bit, and
The art helps.
Yeah, it makes you want to play it again too. It's kind of a neat little deal, and once somebody builds their 5th village, then that kind of sets up the end game.
Okay.
So that's kind of where it goes from here, but it's kind of got a little bit of uniqueness to it, and that's why it's neat.
There's not a whole lot of games, like I can't think of any game that utilizes like, okay, how powerful my ability is dependent on just what your opponents, like the backs of the cards. That's really cool.
Right.
So yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I'd give this a shot. I only remember ever seeing the art,
Right.
like,
Right.
or at least the box cover. So yeah, haven't tried this one.
Yep.
All right. Well, cool. Awesome. My number 4 was very close to actually making it into my top 10. But it obviously didn't because it's here. And this one, it's intriguing because it's not that I didn't expect this game to be good, but what caused it to be on this list overall is because of how surprised like I am of how good it got as I played more of the expansions. Like it probably wouldn't be here if I had just played the base game, but because I played every expansion that the game like came with, that it's just really fascinating on how it's like, okay, yeah, here's kind of my thoughts. Yeah, this is a good game, but then I'm like, oh, now this is a great game just with all the expansions. And so my number 4 is The Endless Winter, Paleo Americans. Like I said, this was one that I was expecting to like, especially just because it's like, okay, it has deck building, it has area control, it has tracks, it has worker placement.
Art by
Yeah,
the
all
Miko.
that. Yeah, it has art by the Miko, where his horrendous people kind of make sense for this theme. And so it has everything like, in the kitchen sink, and I'm like, okay, all that stuff works for me. There's really no reason I wouldn't expect to actually like this game. Playing the base game and then kind of for the channel, then I was like, yeah, all right. This is, at first we were all, as we discussed it more, I was like, okay, yeah, this game doesn't really have a whole lot of longevity. probably won't keep it, but I'll try the expansions. And then just playing like the Ancestors expansion, the modules that the base game has, the cave paintings, the rivers and rafts, I'm like, oh, this game is fantastic, which is a pun because the publisher is Fantasia Games, so it's it just blew me away with the way that this is how kind of a Kickstarter I almost feel should be done, because the main box has all the storage solution for all the expansions that are brought in, and instead of it it being incorporated all into just all the components, they have a different game trays for all the expansion stuff. So you don't even, when you're going to play this, you don't even have to touch that if you're just going to introduce the base game. And then you're like, okay, well now let's try these expansions. It's just very fluid. It has the ease of access, and those expansions are just so good. And the solo variant is really good. And what's also surprising is apparently this is this publisher's first game. Like,
Interesting.
and they knocked it out of the park. Like I mean, there's like well-renowned publishers that can't even get Kickstarters right. And this one was like, they must have like watched all those other like Mythic Games fuck up all their Kickstarters, and they're like, okay, well, let's not do that. So yeah, I mean, the way that this theme comes together, the massive variety of the expansions that are brought into a pretty solid base game, yeah, like that's extremely surprising for me. So that's my number 4, Endless Winter.
Sweet. I'll play at this at some point. This is
Oh,
one of
you
the
haven't
ones I
tried it
haven't
yet?
played
Oh no, that's right. That's right. I remember you
Yeah.
trying to get a copy.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, my number 4 is another game that not a whole lot of people, I think, have played yet over here in the States. I know it's around here, but it's kind of it had a small release, I believe, but then the big major release will be here in like a month or so, probably. And it is kind of a game that it's kind of a gimmicky style game. So I don't know exactly how they're gonna need to support it more. But that is My Shelfie.
Oh, okay.
This one it's from Phil Walker Harding. So I mean, he's done a lot of games, like Barren Park and a lot of different stuff. Planted. He's
Oh, okay,
he's done a bunch of stuff. But
yeah.
what this one is there is going to be a collection of tiles out in the middle of the table, and it's called the living room board. And what you're doing, the theme of it is that you've just bought a new bookshelf, and you're taking these tiles and you're placing them in your shelf, and you're trying to, there's common objectives and stuff that you're trying to match up. You're trying to score points. That's kind of what that it'll be like that. You get these tiles out in the middle, and you kind of put them in there, and you're creating your shelf. And if you see the little scoring cards down at the bottom, it's you're trying to get certain tiles and trying to line them up, making certain patterns.
Is this like a Connect 4? Like, do you slide the tiles from the top?
No, you just push them out.
Okay. You just push them in. Oh, okay. Because the
Initially,
way it looks like you
thought
like
it was a drop down when I first saw the game, but no, you just put them in.
Oh, okay, okay.
But at least the one I had, who knows? But because this was one that got an early release, I believe, at like Essen as well. The reason I got these games because one of the guys that I game with over here in town went to Essen, so he got some of these. So they're kind of listed as 2022, but then they're kind of one of those iffy.
Yeah,
deals.
But no one can get them. Yeah,
right. So, but this one was really neat because it's got a ton of tiles out in the center, and you're picking them up. There's 2 rules. Says the tiles you must take or that you take must be adjacent to each other and form a straight line. And then all the tiles you take must have at least one side free at the beginning of your turn. And then you're trying to put them in there, fulfill your stuff. And then once the first person that gets their entire bookshelf filled, that triggers in game. And then it just becomes the scoring at the end of that, whoever gets the most points. Like I said, it's gimmicky. If they support it more and get more tiles or more of those objective cards, that's what they're going to need to do that, I think. But
Hmm.
I thought it was a stupid idea when I first saw it, and then I played it because I played it
Really
because of Phil Walker Harding. I mean, that was the main
Yeah,
reason I played it because I like a lot of his stuff, and so then it ended up being a good surprise.
it looks super cute.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
especially
kind
there's
of like
kitty
I like
cats
the
all over the
overall
place.
production. Right. Right. Yeah, it just looks aesthetically pleasing. I could see this being like a really kind of good puzzle one, especially like I see those objective cards and it's like yeah, that kind of it almost looks like it's in that same wheelhouse as like Calico and Verdant and
Hmm.
the
Right,
like where it's like, this is kind of a filler, but at least you have some thought behind it
right.
to where instead it's just you're not burning time.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
cool.
So that's my number 4.
All right. My number 3 is actually a game that I had no idea even existed until Gen Con. And I was going to this company's booth to pick up another of their games that I was aware of. And occasionally, like, I don't really try and mingle or talk to just random strangers at Gen Con. It's like, look, just like leave me alone. But I don't even remember how the guy behind me in line started talking, but then he was like, "Hey, have you heard of this game?" And I'm like, "Nope." And he was kind of explaining it to me, and I'm like, "All right." And I just picked it up, which I'm glad I did because apparently this game sold out like every day at Gen Con, and I just happened to randomly grab one. So that's one surprise. And the second surprise is that this is a game concept that I feel like should not have worked, but they figured out a way to do it. So that is Turing Machine. Oh, that looks really cool, kind of on this uh
Yeah.
slide style like whatever design.
Right.
So Turing Machine is a pure logic game. Like literally could have been anything. Weirdly kind of works with this theme. And I mean, the cover I think is like the actual box design is really cool because you take it off and it's actually has all these punch outs on the lid. And if you go to the next slide for the picture, perfect. Yeah, that is really perfect. Uh, Basically what you're doing is you have a combination of those rules, whether it's A to D or you can do all the way A to F, to try and figure out what a 3-digit code is. That's the entire game. And the 3 digits are color coded in blue, orange, and purple with triangle, square, and circle. And those cards in the middle from A to D are logical rules that these numbers must follow. So on your turn, you basically pick one card because underneath the rule card is you have the associated sequence. Well, not sequence, but like I don't know. It's really hard to actually kind of explain because like basically on that is a grid of red X's or green check marks. So you take any number, like any 3-digit number that you want, grab those, and then you put the rule card behind it. And if it comes out red, you know that like that rule doesn't apply. And then if it comes out green, then you know it does. So you're eventually just gaining information that will tell you what the 3-digit code is. And you're just really trying to do that faster than your opponents. So if everyone's playing efficiently or if everyone's figuring it out, then you're pretty much going to find the answer at the same time. But if you're figuring out quicker than others, then you win the game. For all intents and purposes, this game is so minimalistic, but has the biggest array of logical puzzles just because it's like, hey, any 3 combinations, any rules this can work with. And I know they're developing an app or a website to just make it to where you could just play this game forever. I've seen games that try to do something of this ilk and have fallen flat, but this is a smaller box game with unlimited possibilities that should not have worked, but does really well. But I also think that this is a game that either you're going to really like it or you're going to really hate it. It's like, do you like games like Sudoku? No? Well, then stay away from this one. But yeah, this is like right up my alley for logical games. And yeah, that's why it's my number 3, Turing Machine.
Interesting. I don't know if I have any interest in playing that one or not.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's
It looks cool. but
It does look really cool, but yeah, no, it's kind of this is not one that I would even attempt to show everyone. It's like, do you like pure logic? No. All right, well, this is not the game for this is not the game for
right.
you.
All right. So my number three is a game that I know you own as well. I'm not sure if you've played it or not. Um, I have played it twice and it's impressed me quite a bit, and I want to keep playing it some more. And that is Zapotec.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
No, it's actually right next to me up here. But I haven't had a chance to try it.
yeah, this one's a pretty good one. And I think I like this one because its complexity is lower than a lot of the other games that these guys have made. Like
Okay.
it's considered a little bit of a simpler game, I guess. I mean, it's still not super easy, but it's on the lower end of complexity of those two, or the other two or three, four, five, however many they made. But anyway, what
Mm-hmm.
this one is you're pretty much you are building temples, like cornfields, villages. You're sacrificing people to do stuff. So the pretty much what's cool about this, and I know you like multi-use cards,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. The big aspect of this game is each round, you're going to everybody simultaneously picks a card from their hand, and that's going to determine uh, three things. It's going to determine turn order, the resources they collect, and where you can build.
Okay.
So you're going to play a card simultaneously, flipped over. There's going to be a number on it. It's going to tell you the play order or the player order. It's going to be there's going to be a big there's going to be a symbol at the top that's going to show what resource you're going to gain, and then it's going to give you this number grid thing that's going to tell you where you can build your pyramids or houses or whatever.
Okay.
Um, so you're building. Actually, I guess I better go to this. So you're building up pyramids. They kind of build up um, a couple different ways, and it looks like it's kind of busy, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty self-explanatory when you get going on it. There's a sacrifice track, because at the end of it's a game that lasts 5 rounds. So
Okay.
then at the end of 5 rounds, you're going to score points for pyramids, your position on the sacrifice track, and then
Okay.
the ritual cards that you've done. And then it's most victory points wins. Um, I like it because it's a pretty board. It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not too convoluted, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But I really like that card thing because you at the end of each round you're going to draft new cards from the central deal, and then you're going to um you know just put out your cards. That's going to determine your player order and all that stuff. I like that, not knowing um what you're going, because I from what I can tell, the better numbers to be able to go first, you're not going to get as many resources so far. Like I said, I've only played it
Right.
twice. I think that's the balance. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go later, you're going to get more out of it or have more benefits and stuff. So I'm gonna have to play that into put that into account. I have not tried the solo for this yet, but this was one of those ones. It was a pretty inexpensive game,
Mm-hmm.
also for what because a
Feel
lot of
like it
these
flew
games.
under the radar.
It did,
Like,
and it's board and dice. So I mean, it's Teotihuacan, and a lot of
right.
those companies that did
But it's a
stuff,
different designer.
right? And it has the David Turksey solo mode and all that
Mm-hmm.
crap. That he just pretty much does for every single game in existence, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one to definitely try. It's one that I want to get into more, but for the time being, it's definitely a solid one.
Yeah, for sure. And well, it's interesting that it's actually not surprising that you like this game in hindsight, because this is the same designer that did Merv,
Oh yes,
Heart of
yep.
the Silk Road, and I know you like that one.
Yeah, Merv's pretty good. Merv is a lot more complex than this game.
Sure, but
It's a lot more
yeah,
mathy.
it's actually good to know, because I mean, board and dice of course are kind of like that. They're like, at this point for me, when I'm thinking of Euro games, those are like the perfect balance versus like a Vito Losardi game where it's like, yeah, his games are masterpieces and they're at the top, but I'm gonna probably want to replay these board and dice games more.
Right.
So yeah, I just literally just have it right next to me because I punched in stuff, but had to play other board and dice games.
Oh yes. Yep.
Um, they're just knocking it out of the park though.
They are.
They're
They're
they're just pumping them out.
doing.
Okay. Well, my number two was a Kickstarter that I backed purely for its art. And if anyone has been paying attention, they should or that should already tell you what game this is. This is fantastic artwork, and I'm like, you know what, this sounds just super adorable. But I had played games earlier this year that also were trying to make games around its art, and you know the cuteness factor was its selling point, and those games didn't pan out too well. But this one, what surprised me was it's actually a good game on top of that. So my number two is Flamecraft. The art by I'm gonna go with Sundara Tang. Just really knocks it out of the park, at least for me. Like, I really like this, you know, almost Studio Ghibli kind of art, and the world that they created just really kind of comes to life. The atmosphere that they're trying to put forth is 100% there when you're playing, but also the game is good. Like, it's kind of a worker placement game in the sense that you have these different shops that you're trying to go to, sending these artisan dragons to those locations to gather resources and to fulfill like those objectives. So there's kind of at the top left part of this picture, those are like objective cards of what resources you need to then spend to get victory points, or heart points. I think I think, oh yeah, I think they were called like, they're called HP. Man, I might just be making this up. I'm like, oh, I really believe that this is it. They called it HP, but it's heart points. I gotta find
Makes
this.
sense. It makes
Sound like
sense with the theme. I mean, that would make
no,
sense.
yeah, exactly. It's like I it's not in the description. Anyway, but what's really cool about this is as you as you go to these locations, whenever you're putting dragons down and you can enchant these locations, they get more powerful. So like, you're putting dragons down just to stay and work at these shops. And then when you enchant a location, then you just get more resources. So as the game goes on, locations become a lot more powerful that anyone can go to. I mean, you're not like blocking these people from going. And even if you go to a location that someone else has been, you have to give them like a resource. And it's supposed to be like this friendly community kind of reasoning behind it. But you also have like sun and moon dragons. Those are like special ability dragons. But the regular dragons, I think there's 5 types in total, all use the same ability. So once you just know those 5, then that's all you're going to need to know. So that's a really nice touch. I'm really glad you didn't have a stack of dragons that like all did something different, because that's what the sun and moon dragons are. Like the buddy card down at the bottom, that's like a unique dragon that you can draw from a different deck that will give you different heart points or a different power. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I was taken away by this. I backed this purely for its art. To be like, okay, you know, Cat kind of likes these games, maybe it'll be good. And then we're playing it and I'm like, oh, I love this art. I love this, you know, very happy, you know, wonderful world. And the game is good. So
I heard it was like really, really light though. Is that true? Like,
yeah. I mean, in
complexity?
terms of like rules, like I said, you just do one of 2 things. You either go to a location or you enchant it. And it, at its heart, it is a resource collection game, but it's just pleasant, because like light games for me are more of just, yeah, all right, we kind of just did that. Okay, just put this with the other ones.
Mhm.
But I don't know, there's something about this that there's enough thought process behind it, and you're, at least for me, I was enraptured kind of with the world, that it hit that note.
Yeah.
A note of, it's not necessarily a filler because I feel like the game is like an hour, so in length time, but it has that, it just has a very pleasant feel that, I don't know. And the different locations are like puns galore. Like the card with that like right in the middle is called Draco Bell.
Oh, I see.
I'm like, yep, love it. So very excited to see if they do anything else like this or if they go to support it in any way.
I'm sure they'll
But-
support it. It was pretty popular.
hmm
You know.
Yeah, I know it hit a lot of other people's top tens. So yeah, that's my number 2, Flamecraft.
All right. Well, my number 2 is a game that I wanted to back. I didn't end up backing, but I've played somebody else's copy, so now I want to own it. The theme of it is a unique theme. It's a cute theme. It's something that I enjoy a lot, and that is dog.
Ah, I thought
Um,
I could have sworn I backed this, but I have not received a copy, so
well,
I have no idea.
I put like $1 to get the pledge manager, and then I just
Yeah.
never completed it. But
Okay.
but no, Chad got this and everything, and it actually turned out to be a really good game. So pretty much it's got one of those, it's that light, fun, whimsical theme of you're getting dogs, you're walking dogs, and it's a whole reputation thing. So there's 4 different phases to this game. The first phase is like the recruitment phase. So you're going to compete in 2 rounds of offers to add dogs to your kennels. But you have to be tricky because it kind of has that 5 tribes thing where your offers to try to get these particular dogs, you're actually wagering your reputation, which is your victory points.
Okay.
So you're
Oh, I
wagering
see.
victory points to get dogs, and stuff like that. And then you need to select which dogs you're going to walk. And then there's a walking phase. So you're going a point to point movement. You're walking around places, gaining reputation and resources and interacting with other people that are walking dogs and stuff. And then you go home. And that's where you earn reputation for your walk dogs, but you lose reputation for any dogs that you didn't walk. So there's a kind of a balance there. They did really good on the production of this. They have the game trays bone shaped like a bone that you put the cubes and stuff in.
Oh, cute.
There's tons of different dogs. Like this has that, to me, this has almost got like the the bird game.
Oh, Wingspan.
Like every card is a different dog. Like there's
Okay,
there's no repeat dogs, and they have all this stuff, and they've got all these, like the expansions that came out with it, or like other dogs from other areas and different stuff like that. So I think this was purely made to kind of mimic Wingspan as far as the card stuff, and then
Yeah.
the gameplay is different, of course. But this is one I really want to find somewhere and get it all, because it's just a fun, cute game. I mean, they got dog meeples, and it has just every kind of dog you can imagine. And
You can get it off their website.
yeah. And I figured I just hadn't looked to see how much they were going to charge for it, and how much is it
60.
is it the Kickstarter?
It says standard edition, so
Probably not.
yeah.
Um,
But it does
But,
say featuring over 160 unique dogs, custom game trays insert with over 100 wooden tokens. So I don't know what
Yeah, I'd
they
have to
mean
look
by
at it.
standard edition.
because there's a deluxe edition that had other
Oh,
stuff to
okay.
it, but I can't remember what the difference was, but anyway, I played the Kickstarter version when I played
Yeah.
it, but it's just one of those really cool games. If you like those like Wingspan kind of games where the nature and the nice art and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. I can't remember. No, it's not art. I don't know any of the artists,
Yeah.
but it's a really neat game. If you like dogs, I mean, this is a no-brainer
Mhm.
game.
And it does say every purchase supports guide dogs.
Yeah.
So they have a charity set up too when
Yeah, so-
you buy it, which is awesome.
So I will definitely be buying this so we can play it whenever I
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
get it.
that's I could have sworn I bought a copy, but maybe I didn't, which I'm kind of kicking myself because that's absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. All right, and my number 1 surprise game of 2022. This one is like, as you kind of said earlier at the video, of like, if this is one that if you were like looking at the cover, you'd be like, that's what is that even? And this is exactly this. I would never even entertain the idea of playing something like this just because of, publisher, not necessarily designer, but publisher, cover, theme. Nah, like not even close. But the benefits of having, a game group of people who are in the hobby is they're going to try out games that, you never would. And this one was brought over by one of those guys who went to Gen Con and just kind of blew me away at actually how much I liked it, even though this is a theme that I have no idea really what it's about because I haven't seen it. But my number one is Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, which I have never seen this movie. I know the premise just because there was like a remake with Shia LaBeouf, like in the early 2000s, called something Distracted,
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. He's
Sure.
like in a wheelchair and across the yeah, and it's just like the movie is that someone is like on the opposite end of like an apartment building, and I think they do see a murder or what they perceive to be a murder, and they're just basically investigating and trying to figure it out. So yeah, an Alfred Hitchcock theme about deduction, but it utilizes kind of a Mysterium Obscurio kind of theme, but it's a one verse many. I guess not one verse many, but it can be because the many are playing like this team game where they're trying to figure out what the one is conveying to them. So you have a certain number of days or hours, whatever they're supposed to be, of where the one person can give out clues of, hey, by the way, in this room, I'm trying to get you to guess that it's the pink lady and the theme and stuff. But these cards are just so vague, not super vague, and it's not weird art like Mysterium or Dixit, but it's enough that you can convey it in a bunch of different ways. So that's basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get like each day you're trying to get like the rules of that room correct. But there's a possibility that the one person is trying to convey that there wasn't a murder or that there was. I actually can't remember specifically, but not that it's like traitorish, but it is in that same wheelhouse. And so you always have to have that in the back of your mind. It's like, oh, is he trying to throw us off, or like, how can we figure out what for sure if he's like, okay, yeah, is he on our side or is he not? And that's kind of the weird suspense of the Alfred Hitchcock theme, where was there actually a murder or was there not? Even the look of this game, I'm like, nah, no, I would have never, if I walked past this at Gen Con, which I probably did, I'm like, that looks stupid. Because I want to say it's, hold on, let me figure out the publisher because I
It's
really want to.
Prospero Hall.
That's the designer, and it's like, oh yeah, it's the publisher's Funko Games.
Yeah, so it's a Target game. It's one of those that go to Target.
Yeah, yep,
A lot of-
exactly. Yeah, so that's just that alone is like almost the mass market idea. Yeah, just I was blown away, honestly. Like, yeah, this didn't really come anywhere near my um my top 10 of the year, but number one immediately. Like, this was actually kind of the game that I was like, you know what, let's try and do a surprise list because I had to talk about it. This is it blows me away at how good I think this game actually is. It's a lot of fun, even though I have no idea what the movie's like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number one surprise game of the year, Rear Window.
All right. Well, my number one is a crossover.
Ooh, I forgot I have my mic on because is a cross. Oh wow, okay. Let's see. Based off of how quiet you were, I'm gonna say Founders of Teotihuacan.
Yep. This one's
Yeah.
one because, like you, I had no desire. That I heard about this game and I was like, okay, this is gonna be dog shit because they're just using the Teotihuacan name to try to sell a lazy ass design and stuff
hmm
like that. But I bought it, or you had talked it up, and then I went to St. Louis Miniature Market, and they had a dent and ding version for like $20.
Oh, nice.
Box was just a little damaged, but everything else inside was perfect. So I bought it,
Mhm.
and it's pretty damn good. You know,
Yeah.
it's my second board and dice game on this list.
It is, yeah.
So, so kind of like what you were saying. I mean, it's just it just works. You know, it looks
Mhm.
kind of blah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you know, and
I mean,
it's just-
Teotihuacan isn't the most gorgeous looking game either.
no, it's not. But I just like, you know, you have your I'm losing my whatever those are called, the Tetris shape stuff.
Oh, Polyomino.
Yeah, that's it. Using that stuff, I've actually got my wife to play this game because she likes the puzzle of it.
Hmm.
And I look forward to playing it more. I've only played it like 3 times so far.
Yeah.
The solo is good on this one as well.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, the action economy I thought was all. I mean, yeah, like you hit the nail on the head by saying you think they're just using the Teotihuacan name to just make a quick buck. But I mean, even I was looking it up. I'm like, maybe on Board Game Geek it's doing really bad, but the overall ranking is like a 7, and I'm
not
like,
bad.
yeah, I mean that's pretty good. That's pretty good in my book. People are saying it's best at 2. I would also agree. I think it works
Yeah.
really well at 2. And
considering-
yeah, the action selection of like the locations you're going to, like how it costs more of your discs to be able to
Mhm.
go to a location. So
Right.
it becomes like, it's like, man, do I want to keep going there? Like that's like I can do one major action and that's it. I thought that was cool too.
It's funny. I just looked at Founders of Gloomhaven while you were talking, and it got a
Mhm.
6. It got a 6.7. So they're saying it's close to this, and I'm like,
Yeah. I think I've seen some people like defend this game, but it's like they must have just already had the mentality
or
of
maybe
like,
they
hey,
never played Gloomhaven,
or that, yeah.
and they didn't have
Yeah.
that basis.
I see the idea of Founders of Gloomhaven, like why he would want to go that way, but yeah, it's rough. That's a rough one because this like came out around the same time that like the next year at the popularity of Gloomhaven.
Right.
So yeah, it just did not do it any favors. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm right there with you. This one's super solid.
Yeah, so there really isn't much more for me to say. I mean, we've kind of covered it, but yeah,
Yeah.
this one's a solid one, and I would
Awesome.
say it was close to making my top 10.
Okay.
It was
Interesting.
right there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that is our top 5 surprise games of 2022. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know what your surprise games of the year are in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.